We went after short-term gains where we really focused on domestic consumption. So I think that's something that now companies have recognized and are really focusing on export-oriented growth. In any society, there's four pillars. There's the politicians, there's a civil service, there's a private sector, and then there's civil society. So there are four different pillars. In the 60s, 70s, our civil service was very strong. That has eroded. Our civil society today is relatively strong. So out of the four pillars, civil service has gone down. Political landscape, I will let you guys decide where we stand on that. And then the private sector is also relatively strong. I'm saying relatively because I'll get to that. We need to create the right environment for all four of these pillars to become productive to society. All four pillars have really good people, smart people, not having the right opportunity or the environment to really flourish and help the country. I said about private sector is relatively good because I think private sector also has to take some of the blame. Because especially after the war, the private sector saw per capita consumption go up. Because of the war, there was spending going up. So the private sector started investing in domestic consumption and forgot about exports. And if there's a nice graph, I forget where it was, where Vietnam and Sri Lanka, the GDP ratio to export to GDP ratio was the same. And then it's like a V. Vietnam has gone up and Sri Lanka is down. Who's to blame for that? That's not the government or the civil service. It's a private sector because we went after short-term gains where we really focused on domestic consumption. So I think that's something that now companies have recognized and are really focusing on export-oriented growth. So that's how you build the private sector can really contribute. Civil society is good, and then civil service to me is the critical element. Because when we were back in the day, our parents' generation, when you were a civil servant, you were the top of the food chain, the smartest and the brightest guys. We need to make them strong so that they are independent and they run the country, whereas politicians help govern the country, not execute on policies.